Start your computations.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Han, and today plan diary is update video on my Monstera Arbo Borsajana. So this plant has been growing about for 3 months since I cut last time. Just for someone who's watching my video for the first time, this Monstera Arbo Borsajana, one of my wishlist plants of 2023. Since this time was my first time of growing this plant, I was a little bit nervous about growing and carrying this plant because even though I have been growing Thai constellation, but generally I heard Monstera Arbo Borsajana is much harder or more tricky to take care of it. With that reason, even though I have been always wanting to have this plant, I've been always postponed. And then last time when I saw the Monstera Arbo price was quite cheap, I purchased one and then brought it for me. After purchase, I let it adjust in my place for about 1 week to see how it goes. And then since I always prefer to have my plant to be more fuller, I give a trim to encourage new shoot from the mother plant, and the other one to do experiment of propagating. So these two cutting is actually the cuttings that I've been doing propagation. One is tip cutting and the other one is stem cutting, and the last one, which is I'm holding right now, is also stem cutting as well. At first I've been put everything all together in one jar so it can stay together and then can be water propagated. But then I found that whenever it's not really stable, and also at the same time I wanted to give a little bit of difference, so I moved one stem cutting in the leca and the other two is still in the water. Now it's been about another month from last video, and right now the change that I can say is I think about the tip cutting is start to generate more new roots. I think last time when I do the propagating, I think I damaged this root by accidentally, and probably with the reason from there it's kind of generate a new shoot to other direction and then start to rooting this. And then even though I heard generally Arbo Monstera is propagating or growing much faster in Thai constellation, so far I don't see it is really growing fast. Is it only happen to me or not, but whenever I do the propagation with tip cutting, it's always very hard. I mean it does take way much long time for new foliage. And also even I try with the Thai constellation a couple of times, whenever I do the tip cutting propagation, it was always eventually dead. I mean the new shoot seems like trying to grow, forming the new foliages, because when I touch this stem area, this foliage area, I can feel there's something inside. It's not empty like this. I can literally feel it's something little change than earlier. It means it's kind of forming the foliage, I guess. But then after that, it's never show the difference and then become die in general. That's what happened to my other plants, but maybe this time it's a little bit different. So I will just try to see how it goes. Maybe I will this time be more careful about changing the water, and then way I can see how it's gonna be changed. No, but the stem cutting is a little bit more grown more because the root wasn't damaged, so I guess that's why it happened like that. But same the tip cutting, so far I don't see any buds or new shoot is coming on the node yet. But I believe if I keep staying like this, I mean if I keep, oh no, actually there is, yes, I just saw it. So it's very minor, it's very hard to see it, but if you see it there on that side, Actually, I can see it's a little bit of change. It's very minor, but like I can literally see it's like kind of trying to push it through. The new body is trying to push it through on there. And the last cutting, the propagation. Yes. Honestly, even I put in a lacquer, actually I don't see much big difference with the propagating in water because I fill up the water all the time. But to see the result, if I take it out, actually this one have been formed the root very well compared to other two, I'll say. And let's see, is it forming? And yes, this one also, I guess, forming the new shoot from the node currently. If you see there, can't really see much big difference, but like on there, this one is like, I can see it's like trying to grow, coming out. So in that way, I think it's working. So yes, right now the stem cutting looks like performing much better than tip cutting, even though the foliage has been a little bit more changed in a color wise, but still quite happy about the result. And today on this video, I'm thinking to transfer this lacquer and also one stem cutting into soil. Only the reason that I'm doing is like it may better to wait a little more until the root is growing a little more. But then when I see the root, actually from the main root, it's generated like, how to say, the small root as well, which has a role of absorbing the nutrition from the soil. And also at the same time, based on my experience, whenever I try to do growing the plant, I kind of found it when the plant is in the soil, tends to perform much better for me. So with that reason, today I'm going to repot those two and then gonna continue another my plant update. So just to repotting, I just prepared the plastic pot. One was I purchased from Bunnies, and the other one is actually, this one was like a saucer, transparent saucer, but then I just made a hole, withdrew it, and even with those hole, it still works perfectly fine to work as a pots. So I was just gonna use this one, using this potting mix, which is well-draining potting mix. I found it like generally Monstera or very good Monstera high concentration. This plant is like this kind of custom potting mixes perform much better. In that way, I can prevent the root rotting, and also at the same time can supply the moisture and help it to grow better. So right now, because the root really hasn't been grown much, I will just gonna fill only half and then just slightly cover the plant. In that way, still have a little bit of space, cause this doesn't really need much space cause root is quite small at the moment. So I will just potting like this. And once the root is growing up a lot and then need to do repotting, when it's trying to coming out from there, at that time I just can take it off and then put a little bit more base of the potting mix, and then if I bring in top, then it doesn't really need to repot into the bigger pot, I'll say. And in case some of you curious how to make the custom potting mix, I generally, instead of buying a succulent potting mix or something, I just generally prefer to purchase separate ingredients and then mix it together. What I put here is I purchased the horticulture charcoal perlite and orchid bark, and honestly those three should be already enough, more than enough for making well-draining potting mix. And then for me, I add some cocoa peat a little bit and worm casting as well, because the worm casting is a kind of nature like environment friendly fertilizer, so also it's gonna be good for So when I do repotting, only the things what I would really care for is I wouldn't really press down the soil because the roots already have been holding some water, I'll say. But then if I press down and give a pressure from top, it will compress the root and then make it lose the water and then eventually gonna damage it. So with that reason, I wouldn't really press down, but instead to make it settle more properly, probably I will just give some a little more water. In that way, when the water is flow down, it can move around the soil or particles a little bit and then help it to establish a little more gently. Other one is this one. Just help it to be less than proper. Deep water. And the other one is actually I kind of thinking should I put it a stake and then trying to make it stand like this, but then only the thing is like the small root is coming from there, so I think it's better to just lying down like this and help the root to increase the contact with the soil instead of exposing. So I will just let it grow like this, even though it's a little funny. So yes, I just like repotted these two stem cutting into the soil and then just get water. And right now, as you can see, also I fill up with the water, but generally I wouldn't really prefer this way, these things, but right now is exceptional. The reason is because this two cutting was growing in the water and it has been already adjusted in that moist conditions, in the water condition, but then once I just put into the soil straight and then even I water them because the soil is keep drying out and it might be the moisture level could be a little different, and then in this stage I want to minimize those small differences, which is the plants gonna may feel uncomfortable because I already changed their environment, so I want to minimize their stress. So because of that reason, I intentionally fill up the soil a little bit with the water and then I will let it stay like that for 1 to 2 days. In that way the soil can be constantly moist and also at the same time like the roots can be a little bit more easier to adjust in the soil. If I do like this, maybe some of the people might worry about the root rotting, but I don't think it's gonna be a really big problem because potting mix that I mixture is like already like it has already very big particle, which is even I compare with the leca, and if I compare with the charcoal, one of the bits, it doesn't really much big different honestly. And also even the bottom is like filled with the water, from top it still have a lot of air circulation, so I don't think it's gonna be any problem. But anyway, just in case, I will just update with a YouTube short or with a Instagram story that how my plant is performing. So yes, this is my stem cutting propagation status, which is done. So let's push this away and then let me talk about the other last two. And this is the mother plant that I cut earlier, which is I can say is performing way much better than the others. The other one is like even with the generating the new shoot, it takes so long, even didn't form properly. But this one was, even from last month I was showing that like there was a new shoot coming, and then in that 1 month actually it's unfurled 3 foliages now. One is quite tiny, which is from the bottom node, and then the second one is actually forming much bigger one. From the first foliage it was quite big enough, and then very recently it just unfurled another new foliage, which has quite enough variegation, I'll say. So yes, so this plant is actually I was going to transfer into soil today, because again I always think that when plant is potting in the soil it performs much better. So that's why even last time video I was mentioned that I'm gonna transfer this one into soil. But then like when I gave a fertilizer on the leca straight, which is not liquid fertilizer, I just gave indoor purpose fertilizer, and also I used the fertilizer I used the custom mix fertilizer as well, and then I just spread on top of the leca in the way it can be absorbed, and actually it's doing pretty well. Generally when people are growing the plants in leca, they tend to use the liquid fertilizer, But for me, I never tried to give liquid fertilizer to the LECA earlier, so first thing first, I wasn't really sure. Secondly, like I saw the couple of videos about how to use liquid fertilizer, and then maybe not all of them, but I saw one person that give liquid fertilizer and then soak it for a while and then wash it away with the water again. Then I'm thinking like, what is the point for giving a fertilizer if it's gonna wash away later? So I don't see much really point, and at this stage anyway I will transfer this one into soil, so I don't see any problem to give a fertilizer on top straight away. So yes, I just treat this LECA as a soil, and then on top I just put a little bit of fertilizer, and then so far it's performing pretty well. About the watering and take care of it, I already mentioned earlier, so on this video maybe I'm not gonna talk about it, otherwise it's gonna get too long. So yeah, right now I'm just a little bit happy with how it grew, and then honestly I don't have potting mix left over for me, so I will just give fertilizer probably one more time and maybe at the end of this video, and then trying to let it grow more. On the first video I tried like 3 stem cutting because I had already so many nodes, and then like I made 3 stem cutting and I potted into 2 different pots. On this one I put 2 and the other one I put 1, but then the one is somehow when I put the lid on like other people do, I found it a couple of days later it's being drying out and it's dead, and now it's completely dead, so I throw it off. But now this one, the other one is actually still growing well. I mean, the node from the bud last time on the last month when I show it, it was very tiny little, but right now it's still very tiny little, but I can see it's like more like forming the foliage a little bit, trying to grow up. And on the other hand, the other one is pushing through the buds yet, so probably the other one is maybe take a little more time to grow more properly. About this one, probably I will give another month to grow them in the sphagnum moss, and then probably on the following plant diary, at the time I will try to take it up from the pot, and then we'll see how much the root is growing up, and then depends on that I will decide whether I'm gonna do repotting into soil or not. So in that way I can help it to grow more, propagate more easily. So yes, that's pretty much everything for today's video. I shared about 3 months result of my Monstera arbos Borsagiana cuttings propagation, like mother plant. Some of them is like growing quite slow, some of them is kind of surprised me with their growth. Everything is doing okay so far. So that's summary of today's video. Thank you for watching, and then if you want to see how my plants perform more often, you can follow my Instagram or subscribe my YouTube channel. So whenever I upload the shorts or reels video, you can check it out. Then thank you for watching. I will see you about a month later.